Before we begin, here's the story of an unforgettable American horror movie called The Boy. As always, this recap contains major spoilers, so if you plan to watch the film first, now is the perfect time to pause. The story follows a young woman named Greta Evans, who travels to the United Kingdom after accepting a job as a nanny for an incredibly wealthy family. When she arrives at their massive countryside mansion, the owners are still away, giving her a chance to quietly explore the elegant home after removing her shoes at the entrance. Soon, she meets Malcolm, the friendly local delivery man who regularly visits the estate. Not long afterward, Mrs. Heelshire, the lady of the house, arrives and immediately notices Greta's missing shoes. To Greta's surprise, the shoes have mysteriously disappeared. Mrs. Heelshire calmly brushes it off, suggesting that her son is probably responsible, before introducing Greta to her husband, Mr. Heelshire. Moments later, Greta finally meets the child she has been hired to care for, but instead of a real boy, she finds a lifelike porcelain doll named Brahms. Assuming it must be some kind of joke, she laughs, yet the couple remains completely serious. They explain that many previous nannies apply for the position, but Brahms never accepts them because he only feels comfortable with someone young and kind. The couple then carefully walks Greta through a long list of household rules. She must read stories to Brahms in a clear voice, play music for him, store leftovers properly, set mouse traps around the house, and even wish him good night with a gentle kiss on the forehead. They also mention that Brahms is extremely shy and prefers to move around only when no one is watching. To Greta's confusion, the couple even asks the doll for his opinion about her in private. After a few moments behind closed doors, they return and happily announce that Brahms has accepted her as his new caretaker. Still trying to process everything she has witnessed, Greta later calls her sister and shares the unbelievable experience. The next morning, Greta hears Mrs. Heelshire becoming upset after discovering that Brahms' room has been left in complete disorder. Soon after, Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire leave for an extended vacation, placing the entire responsibility of caring for Brahms on Greta while handing her a detailed schedule for the coming days. The moment they are gone, Greta dismisses every rule and treats the doll like nothing more than a harmless decoration. That night, however, strange sounds echo through the silent mansion, pulling her from sleep. As she investigates, an unsettling nightmare suddenly leaves her startled before she wakes up again. Checking on Brahms, she notices what appears to be tears in the doll's eyes, only to discover that water is dripping from a leak in the ceiling above. Later that evening, an unexpected phone call interrupts the silence, but when Greta answers, the caller says nothing. The following morning, Malcolm arrives with groceries, and Greta asks him about Brahms' unusual story. He reveals that Brahms was once a real child and the only son of the Heelshire family. Years earlier, a devastating house fire claims the boy's life after he fails to escape in time. According to Malcolm, the porcelain doll becomes the grieving parents' way of coping with their heartbreaking loss. Before leaving, Malcolm invites Greta out for dinner that evening, and she agrees. Later that evening, as she prepares for the date while talking with her sister, she suddenly notices the doll positioned as if it is quietly watching her. She simply closes the bedroom door and continues getting ready. But after taking a shower, she is shocked to discover that someone has mysteriously cut her hair, while her dress and necklace have completely vanished. Following strange sounds through the house, she is drawn into the attic, where the ladder unexpectedly closes on its own, trapping her inside. When Malcolm arrives to pick her up, Greta desperately calls for help, but her voice never reaches him, and he eventually leaves. Searching for another way out, Greta suddenly notices a large shadow appearing nearby, leaving her terrified before she loses consciousness. By the following morning, she somehow finds herself free. After explaining everything to Malcolm, he tells her that the attic ladder has a habit of opening and closing by itself. Curious once again, Greta asks more about Brahms. Malcolm explains that the town remains divided by two very different stories. Some people remember Brahms as a gentle and well-behaved child who deserves sympathy, while others firmly believe there is a much darker side to the boy's past. Later that evening, Greta calls her sister once again. During their conversation, she learns that her abusive former boyfriend Cole is still searching for her. Greta wants nothing to do with him because he once attacked her, and that painful experience also causes her to lose her unborn child. The memories leave her deeply shaken. Trying to put those thoughts aside, she gets ready for bed and begins brushing her teeth. Just as she finishes, an unusual sound comes from Brahms' room. Curious, she walks over and finds the room in complete disarray, with papers scattered across the floor. As she gently straightens the doll's tilted head, it suddenly appears to move on its own. But the frightening moment turns out to be only another disturbing nightmare. The following morning, Greta notices something even stranger. Brahms is now sitting in a completely different position, with her daily schedule placed beside him, almost as if he is silently reminding her to follow every rule she has ignored. Shocked by what she sees, she rushes back to her room and tries to call her sister. Before she can reach her, the phone suddenly rings. When Greta answers, she hears the voice of a child calmly telling her to obey the rules. Moments later, a shadow appears beneath the bedroom door, making it impossible for her to dismiss the strange events any longer. She finally begins to believe that the doll is hiding a mystery far beyond anything she ever imagined. When Greta opens the door, she discovers a tray neatly prepared with sandwiches, seemingly left there by Brahms himself. Instead of feeling threatened, she begins to sense that whoever or whatever is behind these events simply wants kindness and attention rather than causing harm. Hoping for an explanation, she tells Malcolm everything, but he dismisses the story as impossible. Meanwhile, the film reveals a heartbreaking moment elsewhere. Mr. and Mrs. Heels Hire write a farewell letter addressed to Brahms, explaining that they can no longer live with what he has become and that Greta now belongs in his care. After leaving the letter behind, the elderly couple quietly ends their lives. Unaware of this tragedy, Greta becomes convinced that Brahms is the spirit of a lonely young boy who only longs for love and companionship. From that point on, she begins following every rule faithfully and treats the doll with genuine care. The next day, Malcolm arrives carrying a letter from the Heels Hires and invites Greta to spend the evening with him. However, Greta now feels responsible for Brahms and politely declines, leaving Malcolm disappointed. Soon afterward, Greta witnesses another impossible event as Brahms somehow changes position without anyone touching him. Determined to prove the truth, she asks Malcolm to return the following day. At first, nothing happens because the doll never moves while someone is watching. But once they leave Brahms alone, he changes places again, finally convincing Malcolm that something truly unexplainable is happening. That night, Malcolm stays at the mansion with Greta, and the two spend some quiet time together. Their peaceful evening is suddenly interrupted by Brahms, whose behavior suggests he does not like sharing Greta's attention. Later, while talking privately in the kitchen, Malcolm notices that Greta has grown emotionally attached to the mysterious doll. Concerned for her safety, he shares a darker version of Brahms' past. According to the local story, Brahms once had a childhood friend named Emily Cribbs, who visited the Heels Hire mansion on his 8th birthday. After entering the house that day, Emily never returned home. Sometime later, her body is discovered in the nearby woods after suffering fatal injuries. When authorities come to question young Brahms about the incident, they find the mansion already consumed by flames, and Brahms is believed to have died in the fire as well. After revealing this chilling story, Malcolm admits that if Brahms' spirit truly remains connected to the porcelain doll, it may not be as innocent as everyone hopes. The following morning, Greta's abusive ex-boyfriend Cole suddenly arrives at the mansion, determined to force her to return with him. Sensing that something could go wrong, Malcolm stays close by to make sure Greta is safe. That night, feeling frightened and desperate, Greta quietly hopes Brahms will somehow help her. Before long, Cole wakes up to discover a chilling message written in what appears to be blood, warning him to leave the house. Convinced that Greta or Malcolm is playing a cruel prank, he flies into a rage. Greta realizes the message has actually been written with rat blood and desperately tries to explain the truth, but Cole refuses to listen. Malcolm also steps in and tells Cole that the strange doll is connected to something far more mysterious than it seems. Blinded by anger, Cole ignores every warning and violently smashes the porcelain doll into pieces. The instant the doll is destroyed, the atmosphere inside the mansion changes. The lights begin flickering, the walls echo with unsettling sounds, and the entire house seems to come alive. As Cole searches for the source of the noise, a nearby mirror suddenly shatters, revealing a hidden passage inside the wall. Emerging from the darkness is the real Brahms, now fully grown and wearing a porcelain mask identical to the doll's face. He quickly overpowers Cole, leaving Greta and Malcolm horrified as they flee for their lives. While searching for a safe place to hide, Greta and Malcolm stumble upon Brahms' secret room hidden within the walls of the mansion. Inside, they discover a handmade doll doll, created from Greta's missing dress, strands of her hair, and her jewelry, making it clear that Brahms has been secretly watching her the entire time. Greta also finds the farewell letter left behind by Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire, finally uncovering the heartbreaking truth. The couple intentionally leaves her behind, hoping she will become Brahms' lifelong companion. Before they can escape, Brahms finds them and attacks Malcolm, leaving him unconscious while warning Greta that Malcolm will not survive if she tries to leave alone. Greta manages to get outside, but instead of running away, she bravely returns to rescue Malcolm. Carrying only a screwdriver for protection, she cleverly uses the very rules Brahms values so much to distract and control him. She calmly convinces him to return to bed by following his familiar nighttime routine. As Brahms lowers his guard and moves closer, Greta seizes the opportunity to defend herself. A fierce struggle follows, and after a desperate fight, Brahms collapses, allowing Greta to pull Malcolm to safety. Together, they finally escape the mansion alive. In the film's final moments, the camera reveals someone quietly reassembling the broken porcelain doll, hinting that Brahms may have survived after all. Looking back at everything, the truth becomes clear. Brahms never dies in the childhood fire. Instead, after becoming responsible for Emily Cribb's tragic disappearance, his parents stage the fire, fake his death, and secretly hide him inside the walls of their enormous mansion for years. This revelation also explains why Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire eventually choose to end their own lives. Their overwhelming guilt finally becomes greater than the love they have for their son, leaving them unable to continue living with the burden of their secret. The movie cleverly plants subtle clues throughout the story long before revealing the truth. Mrs. Heelshire insists that Brahms enjoys loud music and clear storytelling because the real Brahms is listening from behind the walls. The family is also unusually strict about keeping the house free of mice, ensuring nothing disturbs the hidden passages where Brahms lives. Mr. Heelshire repeatedly reminds Greta to save every leftover meal, strongly suggesting that the food is actually meant for the real Brahms. Even the rule stating that Brahms only moves when no one is watching turns out to be a clever hint, because the porcelain doll never moves by itself, is always being repositioned by the real Brahms hiding within the walls. And with that shocking twist, this unforgettable horror story comes to an end. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more exciting explanations, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.